Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Sharna Southan. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real-life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Hello, beautiful souls. Sharna with you. Today, I want to expand a little bit on the last episode. So, I mentioned that we were sent home with nothing, empty arms, and just a feeling of complete emptiness inside of me. And then I was like, okay, we get home, we're going through the whole grieving process. Now what? Now what do I do? We weren't given any resources for mental health, physical health, how to navigate the aftermath, and no one talks about pregnancy loss. So I was like, I felt like I couldn't even open up to anyone because I was the only one that had experienced it, that no one else around me in my, circle of friends or family had ever gone through this before. I'm really good at writing, so I just started writing. I started writing everything. What I was feeling, all the sensations, what I was navigating. And I remember writing pages and pages and pages. For a while though, I had to navigate my mental health. The first, few weeks was just so consumed with grief and sadness and pain and heartache and just the not knowing, what do I do now? What does my life hold for me now? All of these questions about me as a person and my life. Who am I? Is my future going to involve children at all? What do I do with myself now? So, I had a lot of blame that I put on myself for what happened. I replayed over and over the day. I was thinking about all of the different things that I did on that day that I possibly shouldn't have, that may have caused my loss. I blamed the fact that my period was so irregular and that it was my fault. Everything that, had happened was my fault. So I just obviously, with the fact that I could write things out, it was my way to express all of that and give it a place to be seen and get it out of my head and onto something a bit more tangible and something that I could see. I never had to read it again. I mean, I felt it in my body. It was to my bones. I felt like the worst person. But, I guess that's all part of it though, right? Like we, as humans, we kind of question when things go wrong. You try and find the answer. You try and find a reason for why it went wrong. And then hopefully you find the reason and you can not do that again the next time. But with, pregnancy loss, it's not necessarily like that. You don't necessarily get that definitive answer to say, this is what you did that was wrong, so just don't do that again. I never got an answer. I never got, anything for myself to sort of go, oh, okay, no worries. Yep, that's good. I won't do that again. I never got a reason for why I lost my baby. I just had to find it within my body and within my heart and find that place of acceptance to move forward without ever knowing. But when I got to a point in my healing, I knew I needed to see professional help. I knew I couldn't do it all on my own. I knew I had to have someone on the outside of me help me process what was happening. And I think part of what the reason why I knew that I had to seek professional help was when my dad died, I went into depression for a year, and I was living from a place of high anxiety, high functioning anxiety and depression. I was completely incapable of living in the present moment, but I could look back over that time and realize where I was mentally and how that looked and felt. So I could feel myself slipping back into that place after my miscarriage, and I knew I had to seek someone on the outside of me to support me through that. So I made an appointment with a psychologist. I took all of my pieces of paper with me. I don't even know how many pages there were, but I know there was a lot. I took them all, and instead of talking to her, I just handed her the pieces of paper and let her read them. And I just sat there and cried while she read my pieces of paper. And I remember her looking at me and saying, "My gosh, Sharna, this is trauma." And in that moment, I was like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for validating me. Thank you for making me know that it's not all in my head, that I'm not making it up. Because all of the moments before that, I felt like I was making it all up. I felt like it was all in my head. But for her to read my experience and say that it was trauma, I was like, thank you. Because that's what it felt like. It's what it feels like in my body. It's so much bigger than what people are making it out to be. You know, I had support around me, but the experience was a very traumatic experience for me. And I felt like I didn't have anyone else around me that could understand the enormity of it. And the psychologist did. So I was able to give myself permission for it to feel big, for it to feel huge, and stop downplaying what I was feeling, because it was huge. In my body, it was huge. So I was able to then to give myself that space to navigate that and to acknowledge that it was trauma inside of my body and start doing the things that would help me release that trauma. And I feel like that was probably one of the biggest turning points in my healing, because I was able to give myself permission to feel that. Even though I knew what to do for myself through my grief, to allow the emotions to be there, to come through and not resist them, I knew there was something more this time. It was different. You know, I didn't ever blame myself for my dad dying, but I blamed myself for my baby dying. And I blamed, everything about me and shamed everything about me. So for someone on the outside of me to say it's okay to feel this way because it is such a big thing that you have gone through and it is trauma, it was, huge. I know I've said huge a lot, but it was huge. So now as well, like knowing with all the sort of the growth that I have done since my loss, when we have these, life altering moments, we have to be able to see them for what they are. Some women will experience pregnancy loss as trauma, as a traumatic event. Some women won't, and that's okay. But it takes a lot of, time to be able to process the trauma. It's not just something that, like society says, you just, why are you still upset? Just get over it. Like it's been however long, XYZ time already. You should be over it. Trauma doesn't work like that. Grief doesn't work like that. There's no timeline for grief. Grief, you learn to create space for it inside of your body. You learn that it's there for your lifetime, and it learns to live alongside all of the other emotions that you have. And you learn to integrate that into your body. And trauma is the same. Like trauma is not something that you can just one day get over. You have to be able to, see it and at least acknowledge that, what you have been through is big. And, if gone through some time and still experiencing these, flashbacks or, PTSD or even, blocks in your life. Like if you feel like there are things that you just can't get by, you're triggered all of the time, but it's been years. It's trauma and it stays in your body until you're able to acknowledge it and release it. One in 4 pregnancies will result in miscarriage. 1 in 8 women will experience infertility. 1 in 100 women will experience recurrent miscarriage. And 1 in 160 births end in stillbirth. Have you been wanting to make a difference in the lives of women or men who have experienced pregnancy loss because you can see so many suffering in silence, but you just don't know how? Collectively, we can change how bereaved parents can access mental, physical, and emotional support after their experience. There is a lot of women with unhealed trauma, and there is a huge gap in the current support system when it comes to bereaved parents' recovery after loss. There are too many women and men suffering in silence. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification is a worldwide, one-of-a-kind program that gives you proven methods designed for healthcare professionals, medical staff, midwives, nurses, doulas, birth workers, coaches, and angel parents alike. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification is bridging that gap. It will give you a proven support structure to follow and education specific to pregnancy loss, created by a loss mum. It is creating more education specifically for loss so that you can enhance your service and become the point of difference. Or you can create the support that you so desperately needed in your healing after loss. This is the next level of growth and expansion you have been searching for. So does this sound like something that you have been searching for? Let's explore this more together. You can head to the episode show notes where you'll find the program application, or direct message me on Instagram and let's open up the conversation in how you can use this education. You have a gift, and I look forward to supporting you and witnessing you bring your gift to the world, healing and transforming women's lives. So, for me to get the validation that what I had been through so soon after my loss, that it was trauma, and to be able to say, okay, yes, I have been through something that is traumatic, and where I legitimately thought I was going to die with the amount of blood that I was losing. I needed someone to say that. I needed someone to give me permission to feel that. So, for me, for you today, if this is something that you have been through, obviously if loss has something that you have been through and it's still something that you're struggling with, pregnancy loss is trauma. So if it's something that you're still struggling with today and you're still triggered by, and, there are things in your life that you just feel aren't right since your loss, it's okay to see it for what it is and to say to yourself, I'm allowed to feel the enormity of this. I'm allowed to still be struggling with this, but allow yourself also the space to start processing what's actually coming up, because it needs space. It needs also someone possibly on the outside of you to support you through that, because we can't do it on our own and we shouldn't have to do it on our own. So I want to leave you possibly with a tool that that's what I did when I took it to the psychologist. And you probably heard, about journaling, but I know a lot of women have said to me before, journaling just makes me feel worse. It's like it almost like stirs everything up. But, for me, what I was able to do was just write. So in the moments that I had, big feelings of uncertainty, of overwhelm, of, brain fog, like I was really clouded in my judgment. Just being able to sit and write what those feelings are or what that uncertainty is. So really starting to understand what it is that you're feeling. So when you're writing, you're not aimlessly writing, you're writing to understand what's happening inside of you. So when you shift that intention, it shifts how you're going to be feeling through that. And hopefully on the other side of that, you can gain an insight into what it is that you're feeling, possibly the reason why you're feeling, like what triggered you. So you might get an insight into, your triggers, a trigger maybe that you hadn't been aware of before, and what those emotions mean for you. So they're really powerful. It's a powerful awareness. So just to shift that intention and shifting it towards, looking to understand what's happening for you, looking to understand what's coming up for you, and give yourself permission to feel that, because it's what you've been through is enormous. And like I said before, it can possibly be a traumatic event for you. So allow it to be big if it needs to be. If this episode has been helpful, I would love for you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and lots of love to you, and I'll speak to you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.